The blue lights of the Galactic Council chamber dimmed as the emergency transmission began to play. Static filled the air before a voice broke through, speaking in the common galactic language. The voice was soft and musical, like wind chimes. In a gentle breeze, "This is Elder Zara of the Zalani people. Our worlds are under attack. The Vrak swarm has come to our system. They are killing our children. They are taking our people. We have no weapons. We have no armies. Please, someone. Help us." The transmission cut to black. Around the circular chamber, representatives from dozens of alien species sat in their floating chairs. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked like walking trees. But they all shared one thing: they were all predators who had evolved. Beyond their violent past, Council leader Kef Aaron of the Sivari Federation raised his forearms. His reptilian face showed no emotion as he spoke. "The Vrak swarm has attacked peaceful worlds before. This is unfortunate, but the Zalani chose to live on the outer rim. They knew the risks." A tall, bird-like creature named Vextoth stood up. From his chair, the hegemony fleet can respond. We have 3 battle groups in that sector. We can evacuate the survivors. Evacuate? The voice came from the back of the chamber. All heads turned to see Ambassador Pete Collins, the human representative to the Galactic Council. He was short compared to most aliens, with brown hair and dark eyes. His body looked weak next to the powerful forms of the other species. What about fighting back? What about stopping the Vrak? Ketharan's eyes narrowed. "Human, your species has only been part of this council for 5 years. You do not understand how civilized warfare works. The Vrak are too dangerous for direct combat. They use biological weapons. They do not follow the rules of war." Pete stood up, his hands clenched into fists. "So you just let them kill innocent people? The Zalani are herbivores. They never hurt anyone. They grow flowers and write poetry. And you want to abandon them?" "The Zalani made their choice to live without defenses," said a crystal-based life form called Quental. "Natural selection will take its course." "Natural selection?" Pete's voice rose. "These are thinking beings with families and dreams, not animals in the wild." Vextoth made a clicking sound with his beak. "The human speaks of violence again. This is why Earth was almost denied council membership. Your species comes from a death world. You think like predators. You solve everything with fighting. Sometimes fighting is the right answer," Pete said, "especially when the innocent are being slaughtered." Ketharan slammed his scaled fist on his desk. "Enough! The hegemony fleet will handle the situation. They will evacuate who they can. Earth's forces will not be involved. Your violent methods are not welcome in civilized space." The other council members nodded in agreement. Pete looked around the chamber, seeing the fear in their eyes. They were all afraid of humans, afraid of Earth's warriors. They preferred to let innocents die rather than unleash humanity's capacity for violence. "Fine," Pete said quietly. "Earth will respect the council's decision." But as he sat down, he was already reaching for his communication device. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Jake Morrison was sitting in his office at the Terran Defense Command headquarters in Colorado. The building was built into the side of a mountain, hidden from view. Jake was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his time as a Marine. He had fought in 3 wars before becoming an admiral. His communication device buzzed. Pete's face appeared on the screen, looking angry and frustrated. "Jake, we have a problem. The Zalani are under attack by the Vrak swarm. The council refused our help. They think we're too violent." Jake leaned back in his chair. "Too violent? The Vrak eat people alive. They turn children into incubators for their young. But we're too violent? The hegemony fleet is going to handle it. They plan to evacuate survivors. How many Zalani are in that system?" "About 2 million, spread across 4 worlds." Jake was quiet for a moment. How many can the hegemony fleet evacuate? Maybe 50,000, if they're lucky. Jake stood up and walked to his window. Outside, he could see human soldiers training in the mountain air. They were preparing for wars that might never come, but they trained anyway. It was what humans did. Pete, officially, Earth respects the Council's decision. Unofficially, I never heard about any Council decision. Pete smiled for the first time since the transmission. I understand, Admiral. I never made this call. The screen went black. Jake pressed a button on his desk. Get me Captain Lisa Carter, Priority 1. 10 minutes later, Captain Lisa Carter walked into Jake's office. She was a tall woman with red hair and green eyes. She had commanded 3 different starships and never lost a battle. Her crew called her the Iron Lady, but never to her face. Sir, you wanted to see me? Jake handed her a datapad. Lisa, how fast can you get the Vengeance ready for combat? Lisa looked at the datapad, reading the information about the Zilani distress call. Her jaw tightened as she read about the Vrak attack methods. 6 hours, sir. Maybe 4 if we skip some safety checks. Do it. Take the Fury and the Lightning with you. This is a black operation. As far as the galaxy knows, you're on training exercises. What about the Council? The Council made their choice. We're making ours. Jake walked back to his window. Lisa. The Zilani are herbivores. They've never seen war. They probably don't even understand what's happening to them. Lisa nodded. I understand, sir. When do we leave? As soon as you're ready. And Lisa? Take Dr. Alex Rodriguez with you. If we're going to save these people, we need to understand them. Lisa saluted and turned to leave. At the door, she paused. Sir, what if the Council finds out? Jake smiled. Grimly. Then they'll learn something about humans they should have figured out already. We don't abandon our friends. As Lisa left, Jake looked out at the training grounds again. The soldiers were practicing urban combat, moving through fake buildings with perfect coordination. They had been shaped by millions of years of evolution on a world that tried to kill them every day. They were predators, yes, but they were predators with a conscience. The Galactic Council thought humans were too violent for civilized space. They were about to learn that sometimes civilization needed violence to survive. 3 hours later, the TDS Vengeance lifted off from Earth's hidden military base. It was followed by 2 other ships, the TDS Fury and the TDS Lightning. The 3 vessels were painted black and carried no identification marks. As far as anyone knew, they were just asteroids moving through space. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Captain Carter looked at the star charts. The Zilani system was 4 days away at maximum speed. The hegemony fleet would take 6 days to get there. That gave humanity a 2-day head start. Dr. Alex Rodriguez joined her on the bridge. He was a thin man with black hair and glasses. He had spent his life studying alien species, trying to understand how they thought and felt. Captain, I've been reading about the Zilani. They're completely peaceful. They've never developed weapons or armies. They solve disputes by singing together until they reach agreement. How do they defend themselves? They don't. Their world has no large predators. They evolved without ever learning to fight. Lisa looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, gentle creatures who sang instead of fighting were being tortured by monsters. The Galactic Council had decided their lives weren't worth the risk of violence. Humanity had made a different choice. All hands, this is the captain, Lisa announced over the ship's communication system. We're going to war. Not for conquest or territory, but to protect people who can't protect themselves. The galaxy thinks we're too violent for civilized space. Let's show them what human violence looks like when it's used to protect the innocent. The 3 human ships accelerated toward the Zilani system, carrying Earth's answer to the distress call. Behind them, the blue marble of Earth grew smaller. In the darkness, but its children carried its protective fury to the stars. The TDS Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Zilani system. Captain Lisa Carter stood on the bridge, looking at the tactical display. What she saw made her blood run cold. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Commander Ryan Blake, her second-in-command. He was a young man with blonde hair and blue eyes, but his face had gone pale. "Look at the orbital scans." The display showed 4 planets that had once been green and beautiful. Now they were covered in dark spots that looked like infection. Massive bioships floated around each world, their organic hulls pulsing with sickly light. "Captain, I'm reading energy signatures from the Hegemony fleet," reported Communications Officer Jenny Walsh. She was a small woman with short brown hair and quick fingers. They single quotes retreating. Lisa activated the main screen. The image showed sleek silver ships moving away from the planets at high speed. These were the vessels of the Galactic Council's military arm, running from the fight. "Open a channel to the Hegemony flagship," Lisa ordered. The screen flickered, showing Admiral Vex Toth, the bird-like commander of the Hegemony fleet. His feathers were ruffled with stress, and his large eyes darted nervously. "Human vessel, you should not be here," Vex Toth clicked rapidly. "This system has been declared a combat zone. The Vrak are using biological weapons that violate all treaties of civilized warfare. What about the Zilani survivors?" Lisa asked. Vex Toth's beak drooped. "We evacuated 12,000 from the outer colonies before the Vrak overwhelmed our defenses. The rest, we could not reach them in time." "How many are left?" "Our sensors indicate approximately 1.8 million Zilani remain on the 4 worlds. But Captain, you must understand, the Vrak do not simply kill their victims. They keep them alive for purposes that civilized minds cannot comprehend." Lisa felt her jaw clench. "Show me." "I cannot recommend." "Show me." Vex Toth reluctantly transmitted surveillance data to the human ships. The images appeared on Lisa's screen, and she heard several crew members gasp in horror behind her. The Vrak had built massive hive structures on the planet's surfaces. These were not buildings but living organisms, pulsing with veins and breathing through giant pores. Worse were the biopods attached to the hives like fruit on a tree. Each pod contained a Zilani, kept alive by tubes and wires. Dr. Alex Rodriguez stepped forward, his face green with nausea. "They're not killing them. They're using them as living incubators. The Zilani are being kept conscious while Vrak larvae feed on their life force." "How long can the Zilani survive this?" Lisa asked. "Months. Maybe years. The Vrak are very good at keeping their victims alive." Lisa turned back to Vex Toth. "Why did you retreat?" The alien admiral's head feathers flattened with shame. "Our forces engaged the Vrak bioships in orbit. They used the captured Zilani as living shields. When we fired on them, innocent beings died. Our rules of engagement forbid." "Your rules of engagement are getting people tortured," Lisa cut him off. "What about ground forces?" "Impossible. The Vrak fight with suicidal tactics. They use their own bodies as weapons. They spray acid and poison gas. No civilized species can fight them in close combat." Lisa looked at her crew. They were all human, all descended from Earth's predators. They had been trained to fight in conditions that would kill most aliens. More importantly, they had been raised with one simple rule: protect the innocent. "Admiral Vex Toth, take your fleet to safety. We'll handle this." "Captain Carter, you have only 3 ships. We had 50 vessels and could not succeed. Your small force cannot. You'll be surprised what humans can do when children are being hurt." Lisa cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Blake, take the Lightning and the Fury. I want detailed scans of those hive structures. Find me weak points and entry routes." "Ma'am, what about the bioships in orbit?" "Leave those to me." "Jenny, Open a channel to all 3 ships. The communication officer nodded. All ships ready, Captain. This is Captain Carter. Everyone listen carefully. What we're seeing down there is evil. Pure, simple evil. Those are not military targets or enemy combatants. Those are innocent beings being tortured for months or years. Some of them are children. Lisa paused, looking around the bridge. She saw the anger growing in her crew's eyes. It was a cold, focused anger that came from deep in human DNA. The Galactic Council thinks we're too violent for civilized space. They think our methods are too harsh. Today, they're going to learn why Earth's predators evolved protective instincts. She switched to tactical display. Blake, your mission is reconnaissance and rescue planning. Find me every Zilani life sign and map the hive structures. I want to know how to get our people in and out. Understood, Captain. What about the Vrak defenses? Let me worry about that. Dr. Rodriguez, I need you to study those biopods. Find out how to disconnect the Zilani without killing them. Dr. Rodriguez nodded grimly. I'll need to get closer. Maybe take a small shuttle down to the surface. Negative. Too dangerous. We'll bring you samples. Samples? Lisa smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. We're going to capture some Vrak. They're going to tell us everything we need to know. Over the next 6 hours, the human ships moved through the system like ghosts. The TDS Lightning and TDS Fury used stealth technology to approach the planets while the Vengeance hung back, analyzing the orbital defenses. Commander Blake's voice came over the communication system. Captain, we've completed our scans. The situation is worse than we thought. Report. The hives are connected underground. It's like one massive organism spread across each planet. The Zilani are being kept in different sections based on their age and health. Lisa felt her hands clench into fists. Explain. The younger and healthier Zilani are in the deeper sections. They're being kept in better condition because they can produce more life force. The older and weaker ones are in the outer pods, being drained faster. How many guards? Thousands of Vrak per hive. But Captain, they're not just guarding the prisoners. They're harvesting them. We recorded the process. Show me. The screen displayed footage from the lightning sensors. Lisa watched as spider-like Vrak creatures moved through the biopods, checking on their victims. They inserted tubes into some Zilani and removed them from others. The deer-like aliens were conscious through the entire process, their large eyes filled with terror and pain. That's enough, Lisa said quietly. But her voice carried a tone that made her crew step back. It was the voice of a human predator that had found something hurting the innocent. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the medical data. Captain, the Zilani nervous system is more sensitive than ours. What they're experiencing is agony beyond human comprehension. Some of them have been in those pods for months. Can they be saved? If we can get them out quickly and provide proper medical care, yes. But every day we wait, more of them will die, Lisa nodded. Blake, I want landing zones identified. We're going down there. Ma'am, the Vrak have orbital defenses. Bioships with living weapons. They'll detect any assault force. Not if they're too busy dealing with other problems. Lisa turned to her weapons officer, Lieutenant Dan Cooper. He was a big man with dark skin and careful eyes. Dan, how many nuclear warheads do we have? 48, Captain. But the bioships have thick organic armor. It would take multiple hits to. I'm not targeting the bioships. I'm targeting the space around them. Dr. Rodriguez looked confused. I don't understand. Lisa walked to the tactical display. The Vrak use biological technology. Their ships are alive. That means they need to breathe, eat, and process waste. If we detonate nuclear weapons in the space around them, the radiation will poison their environment. That's biological warfare, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. No, it's not. We're not attacking living beings with biological weapons. We're making their environment uninhabitable for biological technology. It's like using bug spray. Blake nodded slowly. It might work. But Captain, once we start this, there's no going back. The Galactic Council will know we're here. Lisa looked around the bridge at her crew. These were humans, shaped by millions of years of evolution on a world that had tried to kill them every day. They were predators, but they were predators with a conscience. They had crossed the galaxy not for conquest or glory, but to protect innocent beings they had never met. Jenny, record a message for transmission to Earth. Recording, Captain. Admiral Morrison, this is Captain Carter. We have encountered the enemy, and the situation is worse than we imagined. The Vrak are committing atrocities that violate every principle of civilized behavior. The Galactic Council has abandoned the Zilani to their fate. Humanity will not. She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the tortured innocents below. We are engaging the enemy with full force. If the galaxy wants to condemn us for saving children, let them try. Carter out. The message was transmitted toward Earth. It would take days to arrive, but it carried humanity's declaration of war. Against the Vrak swarm, all ships, this is the captain. We are about to show the galaxy what happens when you hurt innocents in front of Earth's children. Prepare for combat. No mercy. No quarter. We end this today. The 3 human ships moved toward the Vrak biofleet, carrying the fury of an entire death world with them. The first nuclear warhead detonated in space between 2 Vrak bioships. The explosion created a sphere of deadly radiation that spread outward like a poisonous cloud. The organic vessels immediately began to writhe and twist as they're living. Hulls absorbed the toxic energy. Captain Lisa Carter watched from the bridge of the TDS Vengeance as the alien ship started to retreat from the radiation zone. Their movements became sluggish and uncoordinated, like animals getting sick. Direct hit on their formation, reported Lieutenant Dan Cooper. The bioships are pulling back from the radiation field. Good, that gives us an opening. Blake, take your teams down to the surface. I want those Zilani out of those pods within. The hour. Yes, ma'am. What about orbital support? Leave that to me. Commander Ryan Blake gathered his assault team in the shuttle bay. 20 human Marines stood ready, wearing black armor and carrying weapons that most aliens considered too dangerous for civilized warfare. These were soldiers from Earth, trained to fight in conditions that would kill most species. Sergeant Pete Jackson stepped forward. He was a big man with scars on his face and hands that had seen too many battles. Sir, what's the mission? Search and rescue, Blake replied. But the people we're rescuing are being held by monsters that don't follow any rules of war. The Vrak will use the Zilani as human shields. They'll try to make us choose between saving innocents and completing the mission. What are our orders if that happens? Asked Corporal Amy Phillips, a young woman with red hair and steady hands. Blake looked at his team. We save everyone. Every single Zilani comes home with us, no matter what it costs. The Marines nodded. They had trained for this their entire careers. Earth soldiers were taught that protecting the innocent was worth any sacrifice. Meanwhile, in space above, Captain Carter faced her own challenge. The Galactic Council's emergency frequency crackled to life on her communication system. Human vessel, this is Council Leader Ketharin. You are ordered to cease all hostile actions immediately and withdraw from this system. Lisa activated the response channel. Council Leader, the Zilani are being tortured. We're here to stop it. Your methods violate 17 different treaties regarding biological warfare and civilized combat. You will withdraw immediately or face sanctions. Sanctions? Lisa laughed, but it was not a happy sound. You want to punish us for saving children? Go ahead, try it. Captain Carter, you do not understand the consequences of your actions. The VRAC will spread to other systems if provoked. Your violence will make the situation worse. No, Council. Leader, you don't understand. The VRAC have already spread because you did nothing to stop them. You let monsters torture innocents because fighting them was too messy for your civilized sensibilities. Lisa cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Jenny, open a channel to all human vessels and broadcast it on all frequencies. I want the entire galaxy to hear this. Communications Officer Jenny Walsh nodded. All channels open, Captain. This is Captain Lisa Carter of the Terran Defense Service. To the Galactic Council, we reject your orders to withdraw. To the Hegemony Fleet, we don't need your help. To every species in this galaxy, this is humanity's answer to the Zilani distress call. She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the tortured beings below. The Zilani asked for help, and you abandoned them. You decided their lives weren't worth the risk of actual fighting. You chose to let children be tortured rather than get your hands dirty. Humanity has made a different choice. On the planet's surface, Blake's team moved through the organic corridors of the main hive structure. The walls pulsed with veins and breathing holes, making wet sounds that turned human stomachs. But the Marines pressed forward, following their scanner readings toward the Zilani prisoners. Contact front, whispered Corporal Phillips. 3 VRAC guards, spider configuration. The VRAC were horrible to look at. They had 8 legs like spiders, but their bodies were covered in sharp spines and dripping poison sacs. Their faces had too many eyes and mouths full of needle teeth. Take them quietly, Blake ordered. The human soldiers moved like shadows. Earth had taught them to hunt in packs, to coordinate without words, to kill efficiently and silently. The VRAC guards died before they could sound an alarm. Blake's team continued deeper into the hive. They found the first group of Zilani in a chamber that looked like a nightmare. Dozens of biopods hung from the ceiling, each containing a deer-like alien connected to feeding tubes. Dear God, whispered Sergeant Jackson. They're still conscious. The Zilani in the pods were looking at them with large, frightened eyes. They had been trapped for months, unable to move or speak, feeling their life force being slowly drained away. Phillips, Rodriguez, start disconnecting them. Jackson, perimeter security. I want everyone out of here in 10 minutes. Dr. Alex Rodriguez had come down with the assault team, carrying medical equipment to help the rescued Zilani. He approached the first biopod carefully, studying the alien connection systems. The tubes are grown into their bodies, he said quietly. This is going to hurt them when we disconnect. Will it kill them? I don't think so. But they're going to be in pain, Blake nodded grimly. Better pain than this living hell. Do it. As the humans worked to free the prisoners, the VRAC began to respond to the invasion. Alarm sounds echoed through the hive, not mechanical sirens, but organic screams that made the walls themselves vibrate. Sir, we've got company, reported Corporal Phillips. VRAC forces moving toward our position. How many? Scanner shows at least 50, coming from 3 directions. Blake activated his communication device. Captain Carter, we need fire support on the hive structure. Precision strikes only. We have friendlies inside. In space above, Lisa received the request. Dan, can you target specific sections of the hive without hurting our people? Lieutenant Cooper studied his weapons display. It'll be tight, but I can use the ship's lasers for surgical strikes. Mark the targets. The TAVDS Vengeance moved into position above the planet. Its powerful laser cannons began firing precise beams into the hive structure, collapsing tunnels and sealing off VRAC reinforcement routes, but the aliens adapted quickly. Instead of sending more soldiers, they did something that made every human's blood boil with rage. Sir, the VRAC are moving Zilani prisoners into our path, reported Phillips. They're using them as living shields. Blake looked down the corridor to see VRAC soldiers dragging weakened Zilani prisoners in front of them as protection. The spider-like aliens knew that humans wouldn't fire if innocent beings might be hurt. "What are your orders, sir?" asked Sergeant Jackson. Blake smiled grimly. "Jackson, you're a sniper, right? Best shot in the company?" "Yes, sir. How good are you?" Jackson looked at the scene ahead, where Vrak soldiers were hiding behind terrified Zilani prisoners. The corridor was narrow, the targets were moving, and one wrong shot would kill an innocent. "Good enough, sir." "Then show these monsters what human precision looks like." Jackson raised his rifle and looked through the scope. The weapon was designed for human hands, built to take advantage of Earth's evolved predator reflexes. He took a breath, held it, and began firing. The first shot passed between a Zilani's arm and body, hitting the Vrak soldier behind it in the head. The second shot threaded between two prisoners, killing another alien. The third, fourth, and fifth shots each found their targets without harming a single innocent. "Impossible," whispered one of the Vrak in their clicking language. But it wasn't impossible. It was just human. The other Marines joined the fight, using tactics that no other species would attempt. They fired around corners using reflections in the wet walls. They ricocheted bullets off the organic surfaces to hit targets they couldn't see directly. They moved through the hive like they had been born for this kind of fighting, because in a way they had been. "All prisoners in this section secure," reported Dr. Rodriguez. 37 Zilani freed and stable. "Good. Move to the next chamber. We're not leaving anyone behind." Above in space, Captain Carter watched her tactical display as more Vrak bioships arrived in the system. Her 3 vessels were now outnumbered 20-1. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Vex Toth of the Hegemony Fleet," reported Jenny Walsh. "Put him through." The bird-like alien appeared on screen, his feathers ruffled with distress. "Captain Carter, you must withdraw immediately. The Vrak are calling in reinforcements from across the sector. You cannot fight them all. Watch us. This is madness. You have 3 ships against their entire fleet." Lisa looked at the display showing her small force surrounded by enemies. Any sane military commander would retreat. But these weren't ordinary circumstances. "Admiral, let me explain something about humans. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to fight predators twice our size with nothing but rocks and sharp sticks. We became the apex predator on a planet full of things that wanted to eat us." She gestured toward the planet below, where her soldiers were fighting impossible odds to save strangers. "But more than that, we evolved to protect our pack, our tribe, our family. And today, the Zilani are our family." Vextoth clicked his beak nervously. "But you cannot win. The mathematics are impossible. Math doesn't account for human stubbornness or human fury when children are being hurt." 3 days later, the space around the Zilani system looked like a graveyard. Dozens of broken Vrak bioships floated in the darkness, their organic hulls torn open and leaking fluids into the void. But more kept coming. Captain Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the TDS Vengeance, watching the tactical display. Her ship was scarred from battle, with burn marks along its hull and several weapon systems damaged. But it was still fighting. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching," reported Communications Officer Jenny Walsh. Her voice was tired but determined. 300 Vrak bioships, including their largest hive vessels. "Time to arrival?" 6 hours, Lisa nodded grimly. Her small force had been fighting nonstop for 3 days, rescuing Zilani prisoners from the planet's surface while battling Vrak reinforcements in space. They had saved over 50,000 innocent beings, but there were still more than 1 million trapped in the hives below. "Ma'am, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth," Jenny continued. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Jake Morrison in his command center. Behind him, Lisa could see dozens of officers working at their stations. "Lisa, I'm looking." At your situation reports. You've been fighting impossible odds for 3 days. Yes, sir. We've rescued about 50,000 Zilani, but we're running low on ammunition, and the crew is exhausted. Jake smiled, but it was the smile of a predator who had been planning something dangerous. Well, you won't be alone much longer. Look at your long-range scanners. Lisa turned to her sensor officer. What do you see? Lieutenant Mike Torres, a young man with dark hair and quick hands, stared at his displays in amazement. Captain, I'm reading massive fleet movements. Multiple battle groups approaching from Earth space. How many ships? Over 800, ma'am. 3 entire battle fleets. On the main screen, Admiral Morrison's expression grew serious. Lisa, the Galactic Council tried to order Earth to stand down. They threatened economic sanctions and military action if we continued to interfere. What did we tell them? President Williams addressed the entire Galactic Assembly. She said that any species that threatens humanity for protecting innocence will learn why Earth is classified as a death world. Lisa felt a surge of pride in her species. Earth's leaders had chosen to support their warriors, even if it meant conflict with the entire galaxy. The hegemony fleet is still in the area. Jake continued. Admiral Vex Toth has been watching your rescue operations. I think you've taught him something about human tactics. As if summoned by his words, the communication system activated with an incoming transmission from the bird-like Admiral. Captain Carter, this is Admiral Vex Toth. I have been observing your combat methods for 3 days. What do you think, Admiral? Vex Toth's feathers ruffled with what looked like admiration. I think the galaxy has severely underestimated your species. Your soldiers fight like nothing I have ever seen. They engage the enemy in close combat without hesitation. They use weapons and tactics that my species would consider suicide. We call it Tuesday, Lisa replied. But more than your violence, I am impressed by your precision. Your soldiers can thread weapons, fire through groups of hostages without harming the innocent. Your medics risk their lives to save beings they have never met. This is not the behavior of mindless predators. Lisa looked at the display showing her tired but determined crew. Admiral, humans aren't violent because we enjoy it. We're violent because sometimes violence is the only thing that stops evil. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, Commander Ryan Blake led his team deeper into the largest hive structure. They had been fighting for 3 days straight, moving through organic corridors that seemed to grow and change around them. The Vrak had tried everything to stop them, but human determination proved stronger than alien adaptability. Sir, we've reached the central chamber, reported Sergeant Pete Jackson. He was bleeding from a dozen small wounds, but his eyes were still sharp and focused. Blake looked through the doorway and felt his heart sink. The chamber was enormous, filled with thousands of biopods hanging from the ceiling like fruit from a twisted tree. Each pod contained a Zilani prisoner, and at the center of it all sat something that made his blood run cold. The Vrak Queen was the size of a building, her bloated body connected to the entire hive by thick organic tubes. She was not just the leader of the swarm, she was its living brain and heart. Around her, smaller Vrak tended to the biopods, harvesting life force from their victims. How many prisoners? Blake asked. Dr. Alex Rodriguez checked his scanner. Over 10,000 in this chamber alone. But sir, they're all connected to the Queen. If we kill her, the shock might kill them too. Blake studied the situation. The Queen was surrounded by hundreds of Vrak guards, and the prisoners were being used as living shields. Any direct assault would result in massive casualties among the innocents they were trying to save. Jackson, how's your ammunition? Running low, sir. Maybe 20 rounds left. Phillips. Corporal Amy Phillips checked her weapon. 15 rounds, sir. Blake looked at his team. They were exhausted, low on supplies, and facing impossible odds. But they were human, and humans didn't give up when children needed saving. Rodriguez, Can you disconnect the prisoners from the Queen without killing them? Maybe, if I can get close enough to study the connection points. But sir, that would require someone to get within 20 meters of her. That's suicide. Blake smiled grimly. Not suicide, just human. He activated his communication device. Captain Carter, this is Blake. We found the Queen, but we need a distraction. Something big enough to draw all the guards away from the prisoners. In space above, Lisa received the transmission. She looked at her tactical display, showing the approaching Vrak fleet and her own damaged ships. Blake, I can give you a distraction, but it's going to be loud. How loud? Planet-shaking loud. Lisa turned to her weapons officer. Dan, target the hive structure's outer shell. I want a full bombardment, everything we have left. Lieutenant Dan Cooper looked at his displays. Captain, that will bring down half the structure. If our people are inside, they're human Marines, Dan. They can handle a little falling debris. The Tajidis Vengeance opened fire with every weapon it had left. Laser cannons, missile launchers, and railguns all targeted the outer sections of the hive structure. The organic building shuddered and screamed as sections of it collapsed inside the central chamber. The Vrak Queen let out a shriek that shattered the organic walls around her. All of her guards rushed toward the outer sections to defend against the human bombardment. Now, Blake shouted. His team moved like ghosts through the chaos. They had trained for this kind of mission their entire careers, learning to fight in conditions that would kill most species. They were Earth's children, shaped by millions of years of evolution on a world that had tried to kill them every day. Dr. Rodriguez reached the connection points between the Queen and the prisoners. His hands moved quickly, studying the alien biotechnology while explosions shook the chamber around him. I think I can do this, he called out. But I need 30 seconds without interruption. You'll get it, Blake replied. The remaining Vrak guards realized what was happening and charged toward the humans. But they had to cross an open space to reach them, and that was a mistake. Sergeant Jackson and Corporal Phillips positioned themselves to cover Dr. Rodriguez. They had trained together for years, learning to fight as a team. Their remaining ammunition had to count. The first Vrak died 20 meters away. The second fell at 15 meters. The third and fourth dropped at 10 meters. Each shot was perfect, each bullet placed exactly where it needed to be. Time. Rodriguez shouted. Blake looked at the connection points Rodriguez had identified. Destroying them would free the prisoners, but it would also kill the Queen. And killing the Queen would require someone to stay behind to manually detonate the charges. Sir, the charges are set, but someone needs to trigger them manually, Rodriguez said quietly. Blake looked at his team. They were all thinking the same thing. Someone had to stay behind. Someone had to die to save the prisoners. I'll do it, said Jackson. No, I will, said Phillips. Actually, Blake said quietly, this is my job. He handed his weapon to Rodriguez. Get everyone out. Make sure those Zolani reach the evacuation ships. Sir, we can find another way. There is no other way, and that's okay. This is what humans do. We protect the innocent, no matter what it costs. Blake activated the manual detonator. Tell Captain Carter that the mission is complete. All prisoners secured. The charges exploded, destroying the connection points between the Queen and her victims. The massive alien let out one final shriek before collapsing, her death sending shock waves through the entire Vrak fleet. In space above, every Vrak bioship suddenly went dark. Without their Queen's guiding intelligence, they became nothing. More than floating organic matter. Captain Lisa Carter watched as the enemy fleet drifted helplessly in space. The battle was over. Humanity had won, but the victory had come at a cost. Commander Blake's sacrifice would be remembered, along with all the other humans who had given their lives to protect strangers. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the approaching Earth fleet, reported Jenny Walsh. 3 months after the Battle of Zolani, Captain Lisa Carter stood on the observation deck of the TDS Liberty, the newest and largest ship in Earth's fleet. Through the massive windows, she could see the beautiful blue and green world that had become the new home for the Zolani people. The rescued aliens had named their new planet Hope, and they were learning to live without fear for the first time in generations. Human engineers had helped them build cities that could defend themselves, while human doctors worked to heal the trauma left by months of Vrak torture. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission from the Galactic Council," reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim, the Liberty's communications officer. She was a young woman with black hair and intelligent eyes. "Put them through." The main screen activated, showing Council Leader Keth Aaron in the Council chamber. The reptilian alien looked older than before, his scales dulled with stress. Behind him, Lisa could see that several seats were empty. Some species had left the Council after humanity's actions in the Zolani system. "Captain Carter, the Council has completed its investigation into your actions 3 months ago, and officially, Earth's intervention violated 17 different treaties regarding civilized warfare. Your methods were brutal, your tactics were dangerous, and your disregard for galactic law was complete." Lisa waited. She could hear something else in the alien's voice. "However," Ketharan continued, "the Vrak swarm has been completely eliminated from known space. No other species has suffered their fate since your intervention. The galaxy is safer because of what your people did. So what's the Council's decision?" "The Council has voted to create new protocols for dealing with threats like the Vrak. We are calling them the Human Protection Protocols." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Any species that preys on innocent civilians will face immediate military response from Earth's forces. The galaxy will no longer debate and delay while children are being tortured. Humanity has proven that sometimes violence is the only answer to evil." The transmission ended, leaving Lisa alone with her thoughts. Through the window, she could see Zolani children playing in gardens that humans had helped plant. They would grow up free because Earth's warriors had chosen to fight. Her communication device buzzed. Admiral Jake Morrison's face appeared on the small screen. "Lisa, we just received a priority distress call. A species called the Mandari are under attack by something called the Obsidian Empire. They're using the same tactics the Vrak used, but with better technology." Lisa felt her jaw tighten. "How many Mingdari are we talking about?" 50 million, spread across 12 worlds. The Obsidian Empire is using them as slave labor in their weapon factories. "What does the Galactic Council say?" Jake's expression was grim. "They want to form a committee to study the situation. Maybe send a diplomatic mission in 6 months. 6 months? The Hegemony Fleet says the Obsidian Empire is too well defended for conventional assault. They want to try economic sanctions." First, Lisa looked out at the peaceful world below, where former prisoners were learning to laugh again. Then she thought about 50 million beings somewhere in the galaxy, crying out for help that might never come. "Admiral, how soon can you have a battle fleet ready?" "The Righteous Fury and its escort group can be ready in 4 hours. "But Lisa, this isn't like the Vrak. The Obsidian Empire has advanced shields and weapons. Their ships are mechanical, not biological. We can't use the same tactics." "Then we'll learn new ones. Patch me through to Captain Joe Henderson." The screen changed to show Captain Henderson on the bridge of the TDS Righteous Fury. He was a tall man with gray hair and scars from the Zolani battle. His ship was humanity's newest and most powerful vessel, built with lessons learned from fighting the Vrak. "Joe, are you ready for another impossible mission?" Henderson smiled grimly. "Always. What's the target?" 50 million slaves who need rescuing. The enemy has better technology than the Vrak, and the Galactic Council wants to form a committee. "Sounds like Tuesday. When do we leave?" Lisa looked at her crew preparing for another mission that would make the galaxy call them monsters. They were humans from Earth, shaped by evolution and driven by conscience. They would cross the galaxy to protect strangers because that's what humans did. Set course for Mindari space. Maximum speed. Yes, ma'am. What should I tell the crew? Lisa thought about Commander Blake, who had died to save prisoners he had never met. She thought about all the human soldiers who had given their lives in the Zilani system, not for glory or conquest, but because innocent beings needed protection. Tell them we have work to do. Tell them that somewhere in the galaxy children are crying for help. And tell them that Earth remembers, Earth protects, and Earth delivers. The TDS Righteous Fury and its escort ships launched from the orbital station above. Hope. The ships were painted black with white letters spelling out their names and Earth's new motto. We answer the call. As the fleet accelerated toward faster than light speed, Lisa received one more transmission. This one came from Elder Zara, the Zilani leader whose distress call had started everything. Captain Carter, we wanted to thank you one more time. Our children ask about the humans who saved them. They want to know why your people risked everything for strangers. Lisa looked at the peaceful world below, then at the stars ahead where new battles waited. Tell them it's simple, Elder Zara. Strong people protect weak people. That's what strong people are for. And if the galaxy condemns you for it, let them try. The transmission ended. The human fleet jumped to faster than light speed, carrying Earth's fury toward another world where innocence needed saving. In the months that followed, humanity's reputation spread throughout the galaxy. Some species called them saviors. Others called them dangerous vigilantes. A few called them the galaxy's new police force. The humans didn't care what they were called. They only cared about one thing. When innocent people called for help, Earth would answer. The Obsidian Empire learned this lesson the hard way. Their advanced technology meant nothing against human boarding parties who fought in the corridors of their ships with weapons and tactics that civilized species considered insane. Their superior shields couldn't stop human engineers who turned asteroids into kinetic weapons. Most importantly, their slave-based economy collapsed. When humans started freeing their workers faster than they could capture new ones. Other predator species took notice. The Crimson Tide, a race of space pirates, tried to raid a human colony. They found out why attacking Earth's children was considered suicide by the rest of the galaxy. The Shadow Lords, who had enslaved 3 different species for centuries, suddenly found their slave ships being attacked by black vessels that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. The galaxy was changing. The old order, where the strong preyed on the weak while the civilized watched and debated, was ending. A new order was beginning, one where predators faced other predators who fought for the innocent. Not everyone was happy about this change. Some species complained that humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous to have so much power. Earth's response was always the same. Stop hurting innocent people, and you'll never have to deal with us. The TD's Righteous Fury became a legend throughout the galaxy. Children on a dozen worlds knew its name and what it represented. When monsters came in the night, the Righteous Fury would come too, carrying the fury of an entire death world. The ship's hull bore the scars of 100 battles, but it never retreated when innocence needed protection. Its crew changed over the years as some retired and others took their place. But its mission never changed. And on Earth, in the Terran Defense Command headquarters, Admiral Morrison kept a communications channel open at all times. It was labeled Emergency Distress Frequency, and it was monitored around the clock, because somewhere in the galaxy, innocent people might be calling for help. And when they did, Earth's children would hear them. The galaxy had learned a new truth about humanity. They weren't just deadly predators from a death world. They were deadly predators from a death world who had decided that protecting the innocent was worth any cost. Some called it madness. Others called it heroism. Humans called it Tuesday. The stars had never been safer for the innocent, and had never been more dangerous for those who preyed upon them. Earth had taken its place as the galaxy's protector, and the universe would never be the same.